welcome back. Before we dive into this week's video, I have a small favour to ask. I have just realised that I am less than 10 people away from reaching 100 subscribers. So, if you've been watching and you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. If this is your first time and you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any more videos. And if you already have subscribed, thank you so much. It's been really exciting for me to see people liking and commenting on the videos. I've gotten a ton of really nice, kind, helpful, wonderful comments from people who say they're enjoying this. So that's really exciting for me and it makes me want to keep making more videos. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there, you might as well check out that like button too. And let's get on with the video. Hello, and welcome back. This week we will be talking about how to use the terminal on your Mac. This tool is very useful for developers like me, and you may have heard me talking about it in other videos. However, you don't need to be a programmer to use this. Whether you are hoping to become a super user and get more productivity out of your time at the computer, or whether you you simply want to learn a bit more about how a computer works. Learning about the terminal can benefit you. We will be talking about 5 things today. Number 1. What is the terminal? Number 2. How do I get to it? Number 3. What is a directory? And number 4. What is a command? And finally, some basic commands that you can run to get you up and running. So let's dive right in. Number 1. What is the terminal? Well, back in the day, to use a computer, there was usually no mouse, there was definitely no touchscreens, and oftentimes there was not even a GUI, or graphical user interface. The graphical user interface is basically this, what you see in front of you here. It allows you to move your mouse around a screen and click on different applications to open them and use them. All we had back then was something called the command line. This would allow you to enter commands via the keyboard. The computer would interpret and execute these commands. Now, today we have something called terminal.app, which is an application that gives you access to this command line so that you can run commands via the keyboard. Typically, what many people, what developers and programmers will use the terminal for is for doing things like interfacing with hardware, for example, the hard drive or external disks that you might have connected, fixing or looking at network issues or making network requests, navigating the operating system or OS, and you can also use it to open other applications, create and remove files, folders, etc. What we're going to be looking at today is mainly these two. These are kind of the most basic things that you can do with the terminal, and it's a really good place to start when you're getting familiar with it. So let's figure out how we do that. How do I get to the terminal? Well, the terminal is included in all Mac releases, so you don't need to download anything or anything like that. In fact, you probably already have this on your computer, but it's not something that is usually made super obvious to most people because most people aren't going to use it. For example, you won't see it appear down here in your dock. So how are you going to find it? Well, the easiest way to find the terminal app is to use what's called the Spotlight search. This is just something on your MacBook that allows you to look for files and programs inside your computer. The way we're going to open this is with Command and Spacebar. As you can see, this opens up a nice little window here with a little search bar in it. Now you can use this to search for anything in your computer. We're going to use it to search for the terminal. As you can see, it's already found it. It's already here on my computer. You can see we're on version 2.8.3. It is an application, which means it's a piece of software. It's about 10 megs. And then there's just some other information about it. This isn't really super important, but it's nice to know. We're going to open this with Enter, and there it is. So, this is what a very basic terminal looks like. It's just a window, and this right here is your command line. This is where we're going to enter our commands. Up here we got a little bit of just extra information about the last time we logged in, and you can customize this to look however you want and to show whatever information you want here. But basically this is what you're going to see the very first time you open it and you've never worked on it before. So let's take a look at this command line. What are we seeing here? Well, as you can see, right here we've got my username, and this is the name of the currently logged in user. You can see I'm logged in up here as /, and this is telling me where I am currently in the file hierarchy. So this is going to bring us into number 3. What is a directory? Because when you're very first getting started with the terminal, most of what you're going to be doing is interacting with directories. And a directory is really just a folder. On a Mac, basically your whole operating system is organized into folders, and we call this organization the file system. And this file system is a hierarchy. Now, I don't know, I probably did not spell that right. Let's see. I don't even know if I can look at there you go. IE, not EI. I before E, except after C. I should have known that. You may recall, if you've ever taken science like biology or anything like that, that a hierarchy is kind of like a tree structure. It's like a top-down organization where you've got like a root thing at the top, and then you've got other things sort of branching down underneath it. And that's the way that the files are organized on your computer. So I can kind of show you this a little bit if I open up the Finder. And this is probably what you're most used to using if you are looking for folders and files on your Mac. Inside your Finder, you've got basically files and folders, right? The one that you might be most familiar with is the Documents folder. Now, this Documents folder lives inside another folder on your computer, and it's not super obvious when you look at it here because you can't see the other folder. But this Documents folder lives inside your Users folder. What do I mean by that? Well, the cool thing about the terminal is that you can actually see this. So, we were talking about this little squiggle here, and I said this represents where we are in the file system. What this squiggle represents is our home folder, or our users folder. And inside this home folder is going to be our Documents folder, our desktop folder. Look, you can see this desktop is really just a folder, and our downloads folder, along with a few other things like our applications folder, our pictures folder, our music folder. Those all appear inside this. So let's see if we can visualize this a little bit. Here is our file system hierarchy. We've got something at the top here called the root folder, and that is just like the main folder. You can think of it as like the main folder of your whole computer. We're going to call it root. Inside this root folder, you've got what's called the users folder, and this tracks all of the users on your computer. So when you go to log out of your account, you'll be taken to another screen, right? Where you might, depending on if you share the computer or if you've ever had somebody else use your computer, you'll see other users who can also log in. Those are the users on this computer. Inside the users folder, you've got your own personal user folder. In my case, it's called /, but it's also known as the home folder or squiggle. Don't ask me why it's called the squiggle. I really don't know. It's kind of cute though. I kind of like it, so I just let it go. Inside of our users folder, then we've got our applications folder, we've got our documents folder, we've got our downloads folder, and then we've got things like pictures, music, and probably some other things that maybe you've created yourself or other things that are there on the computer. So this is our file system hierarchy, and basically it's directories, these directories, just inside other directories. And then inside those directories are going to be other directories or other files. The cool thing about the terminal, as I said before, is that you can really see all of these directories. This brings us to our first command. So, our first command that we're going to run is pwd, and that stands for print working directory. And what this means basically is just print out the name or the path of the directory that I am currently in, and you run a command with enter. As you can see, we are in /users/. And as I showed you here, there's our / or our root or the main folder on our computer. Here's our users, and here's our /. So this is where we are right now in here. Let's take a second to review what is a command. A command is basically just a short piece of text that you enter into the command line. It's usually going to be a few letters or a word or some combination of those two things. The command pwd, which was the first basic command we used, stands for print working directory. And all it does is it just prints out the directory or the folder that you're currently in so that you know where you are. It's not the most useful command in the world, but it's a good way to start getting familiar with the terminal. The next thing you need to know about commands is that they take arguments and options. So let's talk about this real quick. What is an argument? An argument is basically some extra information that you tell to the command to change how it runs. And an option is basically the same thing. The difference between these two things is that an argument is usually going to be something. An argument is really going to be something that you want the command to change, and the option is going to be how you want to change that thing. For example, an argument might be something like a file, and an option might be something like what we call a flag. We're not going to talk very much about options today, so don't worry about it too much for now. But we will talk about arguments, and we will talk about those right now when we learn our second command. The second command that we're going to learn is cd, and that stands for change directory. Now you can probably guess what this is going to do. It's going to change the directory that we are currently in. However, if I just run this command, like I did with pwd, watch what happens. Absolutely nothing. And the reason that nothing happens is because we haven't told the command where we want to go. And that's where our argument comes in. The argument is going to be what we pass to cd to tell it where we want to go. So let's say we know that we are in our users folder, right? And we know that inside our users folder we have a documents folder. So let's say we want to change into our documents folder. We would type cd documents. Documents is our argument. Now, it looks like nothing happened, but look carefully. You can see here at our command line at the prompt that this has changed. Before the $, all we had was /:, squiggle. The $, just tells us that that's the end of this bit and that there we can start inputting information. But now look what we've got before this $. We've got /:, squiggle, / documents. That means that we are now in the documents folder. So we have changed a directory into the documents folder. And to check and prove that we've done that, we can run our pwd command. And now you'll see that instead of being in users./ we are in users./ documents. So we've changed directory. Another argument that you can pass to the cd command is a special argument called dot dot. I'm going to run it now, and I want you to look at what happens in the terminal and tell me what you think dot dot means. Can you see it? So, as you can see, we've gone back into our home directory, right? If I pwd now, you can see that we are back in users dot slash. We're no longer in users dot slash documents. So what does dot dot mean then? Dot dot basically means go up one directory. And when I say go up, if you're thinking of the file hierarchy, I literally mean go up, right? Here I am in documents and I want to go up to here. If I ran cd dot dot one more time, I would go up into the users main folder. And if I ran cd one more time, I would go up all the way back to root. So let's have a look and see if that's true. First, I'm going to cd back into documents. So here we are in documents, right? pwd documents. Now, if I go cd dot dot, there I am in home. If I go cd dot dot again, here I now am in users. And if I go cd dot dot one more time, I'm all the way back up to root. And in Mac, they don't actually write root, we just write slash. And that means we are in the root or the top of our file system hierarchy. So, we know what's in our users folder. Users, right? We know what's in one of our users folder. Typically it's going to be all the things that that user uses. Documents, applications, downloads, pictures, music, things like that. But what's in our root folder? Well, we can find out by running our next command, and that's going to be ls. ls just means list, and it lists all of the things that are in the current directory. So let's find out what's in our root directory. Here we've got a whole bunch of stuff. Now, most of this isn't going to mean very much to you, and I don't recommend that you go messing around with things in the root directory, because honestly, this is where kind of all of the really important stuff that makes your computer work is. So there's an applications folder here, but this is not your applications folder. This doesn't necessarily mean things that you've installed on the computer. More often it means things that help those things, or things that other people have installed, or more lower level applications that help the computer run. Then you've got like a library, network, systems. Here's that users folder, right? This is where all of the different users live. Volumes, this is going to be like disks and things like that. And then you've got all of these weird 3-letter names of folders. These are the really important things that make your computer run. So I do not recommend messing around with things in this folder. So to be safe, why don't we cd out of root into users back into dot slash. In order to do that, we're going to go cd users slash dot slash slash documents. And there we are, back safe and sound in our documents folder. So what can we do now that we're in our documents folder? What would be something maybe useful to do in here? Well, one thing that we could do, I'm just going to close this for a second, is we could create a file. luckily there is a command for that, and it is called touch. I honestly don't know why it's called this. It's a bit of a weird name if you ask me, but there it is. That's what it's called. So let's go ahead and create a file in our documents folder. I'm going to create a file called hello, and it's just going to be a basic text file. .txt means it's just a basic text file. So it looks like nothing happened, right? But have a look at this. If I open up the Finder now and I have a look in my documents folder, you can see that this file has been created. There it is, hello.txt. The other way that you can see that the file has been created, I lost my terminal, there it is by running which command? I'll give you a minute to think about it. Which of these commands do you think you could run? Exactly, you could run ls, and now you can see, there it is, your new text file. Now, as I said before, you can open applications from the terminal. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to open this file with an application. So the application that I'm using here to type all of this stuff to you is called Atom. Atom is just a text editor that coders use to write code files, but you can also use it to write just basic regular text files. I really like it. If you want to feel really fancy while you're typing your next document, don't use Word, use Atom. I'm just kidding, you should probably keep using whatever you're using. But if you want to play around with Atom, it's free, you can download it, it's fun to mess around with, I highly recommend it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to Atom, the name of the application, and then I'm going to open the file. And there we are. See, we've just opened it right here. Let's just type a few things. And we'll save it. And look, as you can see, Finder is telling us that we've just updated this file. This is going to bring us to our next command, the cat command. Don't ask me again why it's called this, I don't know, but I do love cats, so I just go with it. Cat is basically going to output the contents of a file. And it takes the argument of a file. So if I run cat hello.txt, there you can see the output of my file. Let's think about what else could we do? Oh, here's another useful thing for cat. You can use cat to copy one file into another file. I haven't actually done this in a while, so I hope this works. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the output of this file, cat hello.txt, which means I'm going to take this stuff that's inside this file, right? And I'm going to try to put it into another file. And I'm going to create that file as we're doing it. So we'll think of a new name for our file. Let's just call it new. And what this is saying is it's telling cat to dump the contents of this file into this file. Now let's see what happens. Cool. So, as you can see in Finder, we've just created this new file. And if I ls here, or list, I can see that new file. Now, if I open it with Atom, we'll hopefully see that it has exactly the same text as hello.txt did. The last command that we are going to learn today is rm, and rm stands for remove. Now, you can use rm to remove documents, or you can use rm to remove whole entire folders. We're going to use it today to remove those two files that we just created. And similar to cat and touch, rm takes an argument of a file because you have to tell it. For example, if I just run rm, we actually get an error this time. This is basically telling us you are not using this correctly. rm needs an argument. It needs a file because otherwise it doesn't know what to remove. So the way we run it properly is we're going to pass it a file name. We're going to go rm new.txt, and I want you to watch down here what happens when we do that. Bloop, it's gone. And if I ls here now, you can see that in here there is no longer a file called new.txt. Let's go ahead and delete hello.txt as well. rm hello.txt. Bloop, there it goes, it's gone. And if I ls, you can see that it's no longer in there. Now, for those of you who are paying close attention, you may have noticed that up here it looks like these files still exist. And that's because Atom is a different application from Terminal. And Atom doesn't necessarily know yet that these files have been deleted. So, all this is doing, this is a GUI, or a graphical user interface. This is just giving us a representation of what it thinks is there. It doesn't get updated when we remove the file from the folder because it has no knowledge of that. But if I go ahead and try to save this file now, it will recreate it and put it right back in that folder. And same again, if I do this, once again, it's created that file and it's put it right back in there. If I ls, you can see that those two files are now back. So, I hope that you guys have found this interesting. Let's go ahead and review very quickly what we've been talking about today. What is the terminal? The terminal is just this little application that gives you access to the command line. The command line allows you to enter commands via your keyboard, and that's this right here. How do you get to it? Well, it's included on your Mac already, so you can go and start playing around with this today if you wanted to. And the easiest way to find it is to use Spotlight to search for it. You can open Spotlight with Command, spacebar, and then simply type in terminal, and it will open the terminal. Next, we talked about directories, and we talked a little bit about the hierarchy of the file system. A directory, remember, is just a folder in your computer, and your whole computer is organized into this hierarchy of folders that contain your documents and also your applications, your programs, things that make the operating system work. Basically, everything that makes your computer work is going to be organized nicely into a folder. You can use the terminal to navigate this hierarchy and move around between directories, create files, create folders, and things like that. Next, we talked about what is a command, and a command is just a short word or a couple of letters or abbreviation that you enter into the terminal to make the computer do something. It takes some commands you can run without arguments and options, but most commands are going to take arguments and options. An argument, remember, is something that you want the command to change, like a file or a directory. remember, if I CD and I don't tell the computer where to go, it's going to basically default going to the home folder. If I CD and I tell the computer where to go, it's going to go into that folder. I should actually correct what I said earlier. When you run CD with no argument, it defaults to going home. I think I said that it doesn't do anything, but I was wrong about that because we were already in the home folder, so it looked like it wasn't doing anything, but actually it was just going to the default. An option we don't really need to worry about just yet, but that's basically going to tell you how you want to change the thing that you're operating on. We then talked about some basic commands. The first one we did was pwd, or print working directory, and that just shows you where you are in the file system. Next we talked about cd, or change directory, and remember that takes you into another folder. We talked about the special ... which is going to tell you to go up one directory. We also talked about how to go through many directories at a time. So for example, by typing in users / my username / documents, I was able to navigate all the way from root right into documents in just one command. Next, we talked about ls, or list, which lists everything that's in the current directory. We talked about touch, which is used to create a file. You can touch any kind of file that you want. So for example, here I'm going to touch a JavaScript file, and that I could use to write some JavaScript, which would become a program which I could then run on my computer. Then we talked about the cat command, and remember, cat just outputs the contents of a file into the terminal. So if I cat hello.txt, you can see what's in that file. Finally, we talked about rm, which is used to remove a directory or file. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and that you've found it useful. I highly encourage you to open up your terminal and start exploring. Even if you're not doing very much at first, it feels really cool to be able to navigate around a computer like that and really understand how everything's working, and it's a really good way to start getting familiar with programming concepts. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I'm always happy to hear your comments and feedback. See you next time.